And thank you for tuning in with myself, Tina Burse, with It's Okay to Be Different, and my co-host, Alan Burse. Today's topic will be discussing youth and drugs. Before I get started on today's session, I want to start off with a poem that reads, A Poem on Drugs. Hello, my name is Drugs. I destroy homes, tear families apart, take your children, and that's just the start. I'm more costly than diamonds, more costly than gold. The sorrow I bring is a sight to behold. And if you need me, remember I'm easily found. I live all around, in schools and in town. I live with the rich, I live with the poor. I live down the street and maybe next door. My power is awesome. Try me, you'll see. But if you do, you'll never break free. Just try me once and I might let you go, but try me twice, I'll own your soul. When I possess you, you'll steal and you'll lie. You'll do what have to do to just to get high. The crimes you'll commit for my narcotic charms will be worth the pleasure you'll feel in your arms. You'll lie to your mother, you'll steal from your dad. When you see their tears, you still feel sad. But you'll forget your morals and how you were raised. I'll be your conscience, I'll teach you my ways. I'll take kids from their parents and parents from their kids. I turn people from God and separate their friends. I take everything from you, your looks and your pride. I'll be your ways right by your side. You'll give up everything, your family, your home, your friends, your money, and then you'll be alone. I'll take and I'll take till you have nothing more to give. When I'm finished with you, you'll be lucky to live. If you try me, be warned, this is no game. If given the chance, I'll drive you insane. I'll ravish your body, I'll control your mind. I'll own you completely, your soul will be mine. The nightmares I'll give you while lying in bed, the voices you hear from inside your head, the sweats, the shakes, the visions you'll see. I want you to know these are all gifts from me. But then it's too late and you'll know in your heart that you are mine and we'll never be apart. You'll regret that you tried me, they always do, but you came to me, not I to you. You knew this would happen many times you were told, but you challenged my power and chose to be bold. You could have said no and just walked away. If you could live that day over, now what would you say? I'll be your master, you'll be my slave. I'll even go with you when you go to your grave. Now that you have met me, what will you do? Will you try me or not? It's all up to you. I can bring you more misery than words can ever tell. Come take my hand, I'll take you straight to hell.
Wow.
Now this poem hits home to many. We have many people in the community that deals with drugs and drugs addiction. The reason why I chose this topic is because we have many youth that are suffering from the same addiction, whether it be from peer pressure or environment, or maybe just to fit in or to take away the pain. Before we get started, I want to ask the parents a couple of questions. First is, do you know what a skittle party is? Or you may also known as a farm party. It is where the children come together at a party, a ditching party. They'll bring in all types of prescription drugs and drop them into a bowl. And then each one will come by and grab a handful and pop it in their mouth along with alcohol just to get that high feeling. Something also, you may want to check your children's phone, and these are words you may want to look for. Fun, poppers, pills, Skittles, and party are the main words you want to look for. Also, if you see the number one means want to come to my Skittle party. If you see just the number 2, sure, I'm ready. Another number 1, be sure to bring the pills. 2, don't worry, my mom has a lot of them. She has a lot of problems, which equals a lot of pills. Or if you see the number 0 and it means sweet man, see you there. Do you know who's your child's biggest supplier is? It's not the man standing on the street corner, and it's not their peers from school. It's you. You're your biggest child's supplier. The medications that you are prescribed from your physician, these are the medications that are easily accessible to your child. All they have to do is go into your room, take whatever they want, and go have fun. You always say don't leave, not to lock up your items at home because that's your home. But at the same time, if that's gonna prevent your child from going down the road of destruction, lock up your home, lock up your medicines. A Skittle party could take the form of a home filled with teenagers where everyone brings all the prescription medications they have on hand and pull. Then anyone at the party who wants to abuse a pill just dips in and grabs whatever they want. This practice could be life-threatening, but with a deceptive name like a Skittle party. It could be discussed right in front of a parent without them realizing anything is wrong. Anyone who knows what Skittles are knows why this term came into use. Skittles are small, round candies that come in an assortment of colors and flavors. There's a similarity between a bowl of Skittles and a bowl of prescription pills. It is easy to understand why teens might choose to abuse prescription drugs. Their parents take them. They are given these drugs themselves. They are often available in the home or in the home visits or the home that they visit. Abusing these drugs may seem like just a small step away from the drug's legitimate use. But that is because teens do not understand that addiction and death can follow a Skittle party. The bowls are one of these parties may contain any of or all of these following. You have Xanax, Valium, Prozac, Oxycontin, Vicodin, Lortab, Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, Percocet, and Percodan. Any of these drugs can become addictive and send the right person to rehab for recovery. When a number of these drugs are taken together, they can create a complex medical situation that is difficult or taken with alcohol to untangle in the emergency room. Now I'm going to stop here and I'm going to have my co-host go over some stats and facts on youth and drugs.
It's amazing that more teens die from prescription drugs than heroin and cocaine combined. In 2013, more high school seniors regularly used marijuana than cigarettes, as 22.7 smoked pot in the last month, wow, compared to 16.3 who smoked cigarettes. 60% of high school seniors don't see regular use of marijuana as harmful. But the THC, the active ingredient in the drug that causes addiction, is nearly 5 times stronger than it was 20 years ago.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Now, being a former police officer from North Las Vegas, I have a couple of questions to ask. Patrolling the streets, coming in contact with the youth on the streets, what was the highest, I won't say highest crime, but when you stopped them for committing a crime, what was their, or how were they influenced under anything, or were they just straight?
Well, 90% of the time they were under the influence of some type of chemical, be alcohol, marijuana, PCP, cocaine. We ran a gamut on the streets in the inner city. So when you ran across a kid or you stopped a kid that had committed a crime, 9 times out of 10, they were under the influence of some type of narcotic.
So what was the youngest child that you ever encountered?
8. 8 years old.
And he was under the influence, or she was under the influence? They
both were under the influence. They had stolen a car, and this might sound funny. One was on the ground working the gas and brake pedal. The other one was steering, and they actually took us on a pursuit. And when we finally got the vehicle stopped, one had been drinking, and the other one said that his parent had given him marijuana.
And this is 8 years old? 8
years old.
Wow. I remember when I was 8 years old, I was too busy playing in the dirt and beating up on people, let alone taking drugs and stealing a vehicle.
8 years old, I wish. What I would give to be 8 years old. Yeah.
So what was the oldest, from a teenager, what was the oldest that you've encountered?
Teenagers, I mean, I could consider 18 years old an adult, so I don't consider them teenagers. 17, I mean, we've responded to 17-year-olds that have committed crimes as far as homicides and rapes and assault. The rape and assault, and even the homicide that I remember, they were under the influence. They hadn't, when they came down or came back to themselves, they had no idea the crime that they had committed.
And this is why we say drugs and crime go hand in hand. Okay, and one more question before I let you go back to your stats. When notifying the parents of these children, how was their reaction? Did they respond to "wasn't my child, couldn't be my child," or were they receptive?
Well, 1 out of 10 would be on our side and say, "Hey, what do I need to do to get him some help?" But 9 out of 10, we would get that famous saying, "My child didn't do that." But
And a lot of us parents are guilty of that. A lot of them say, "Well, not my child. My child could never do that." But believe it or not, drugs do not discriminate. You can be the richest person here in Las Vegas. You can be the poorest person here in Las Vegas. But drugs does not discriminate. All right, Dwayne, go ahead and go back to your stats and facts. Thank you for that.
all righty. Now this is alarming. A third of teenagers who live in states where medical marijuana is legal get their pot from other people's prescriptions. That's crazy. So pretty much, the person that has a prescription is supplying the child.
Right.
That's
That's why they say if you drive by going down 95 right across from the casinos downtown, there's a billboard that says parents don't be your children's supplier.
right.
So like I stated earlier when we first started, it is not the man standing on the street corner and it's not the kids' friends at school. It's you, the parents. You are your child supplier. So be careful where you place your medications. Be in a lockbox. Just make sure your child is safe.
In the United States represents 5% of the world's population, but 75% of prescription drugs taken are right here in the United States. That's an alarming. And we take up so little space in the world, but we got 3/4 of the world's prescription drug abuse problems.
Right.
That's bad. 60% of teens who abuse prescription drugs get them free from friends and relatives. You know, it's sad, but you know, a lot of parents are trying to be their kid's friend instead of their parent, and you know, they smoke with them, they drink with them, and that's just lead them down the road of destruction.
You know, it's another sad thing is the fact that our children are getting high right in school. They're sitting in the classroom, the back of the classroom. They're popping pills in the back of the classrooms. They're walking down the corridors, passing pills, asking, "Hey, do you want to try this? Hey, do you want this?" You know, it's sad, and I know that the schools can only do so much. I know that the campus security can only do so much. They can't be at all places at all times. So therefore, it goes back to the parents. Parents, be careful. Be mindful of where you place your prescription drugs. Do not leave them out for your children to get to, because it can be your child or their friends that they can lose their life behind this. They don't think that it's critical. They don't think that medication drugs can harm them, but it can. They're taking these drugs along with alcohol, and alcohol and drugs don't mix. So like I said, once again, please be mindful of where you place your medication drugs.
Just before arriving here, we happened to run across a YouTube video of a teenager smoking a Twix bar.
Yeah.
Chocolate candy bar is the new way to get high now. A Twix bar. So parents, if you're seeing a lot of Twix candy wrappers in your house, you might want to check your child.
And they're doing it where they're breaking out both ends of the candy bar and they're putting back the chocolate, and they are lighting the cookie part,
actually smoking
and
a
smoking
Twix bar.
it. You can actually go on YouTube and verify this information. You can watch the children actually smoking this candy bar. And that used to be my favorite candy bar. I'm scared to do it now. I'm scared to eat it now. Go ahead.
Adderall use, which is often prescribed to treat ADHD, has increased amongst high school seniors from 5.4% in 2009 to 7.5% this year. That is an amazing jump. That is a tremendous leap. That's scary. 54% of high school seniors don't think that regular steroid use is harmful. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, I coach high school football, and we actually test here. So steroid use, it does a lot to the body that people just don't understand. It might make you look good, but there are side effects. By the 8th grade, 28% of adolescents have consumed alcohol. 15% have smoked cigarettes, and 16.5% have used marijuana.
And it goes back. Parents. I know some parents have even asked their children to go light their cigarettes for them. That's how it can start. They go on and light your cigarette, puff, puff. There you go. You can also have alcohol. Not saying that you can't enjoy what you do at home. That's in your privacy, right? But when it involves your children, then that's where you need to be more precautious. You may have a glass of wine on your table, or your can of beer on the kitchen counter, and when you're not looking, your child can go right behind you and grab what it is that you're drinking, take a swig, put it back down, and go on about their business. So we always have to be mindful. Even myself, we always have to be mindful of what we do around our children. I have 15 grandbabies, you know, and we have to be mindful of them as well, because they are sponges.
Absolutely.
They take in whatever that they see, whatever that is done in front of them, they mimic. So we have to be careful as parents, grandparents, role models, mentors, whatever position that you hold in someone's life that you are responsible for. Just be mindful.
Teens who consistently learn about risk of drugs from their parents are up to 50%. 50% less likely to use the drug than those kids that are not being taught anything. 6.5% of high school seniors smoke pot daily.
Okay, let's go back to your school days. Let's go back
daily.
to pump our brakes.
I don't know if I can remember back that far.
No, please. Now, I remember you telling me a story about your football team, how you guys went in.
Hey, you're not supposed to tell my secrets.
No, but hey, we trying to reach.
It was more alcohol back in the day with us. We would go to a local store where we were not carded, and I had absolutely no facial hair or anything like that. And we could purchase the beer of our desire. We'd take it back and distribute it amongst the football team and party goers, I should say. And right before our assembly, we'd partake in a beer fest, if you want to call it that. And but that was peer pressure, and everybody falls. You fall victim to that. You know, you want to be.
Peer pressure is a lot worse than it is when we was coming up. It's a lot harder now. The kids have a lot of issues that they have to deal with coming up in these days and times. But like I said, it goes back to us being parents. We need to really be involved in our children's lives. So we need to be nosy. That's what my kids tell me. You nosy. You always want to know everything. Yep, that's right. You want to know their friends. You want to know who they're dealing with. You want to know who they're talking to. You want to know everything. You want to know when they wake up. You want to know when they go to sleep. Just being involved makes a big difference in your child's life. You know, it prevent a whole lot of if you just be involved, take that extra step, take that extra mile, and be nosy in your child's life.
This one is amazing. about 50% of high school seniors do not think it's harmful to try crack or cocaine once or twice, and 40% believe it is not harmful to use heroin once or twice. I've never known as a police officer for anyone to bounce back from heroin. Heroin, cocaine, once you try it, you're hooked. It's that type of drug.
What that poem say? I take the kids, I take your parents away from the kids.
So it's amazing. It is truly amazing.
It's not a friend. It's nothing that you want to try. A lot of people say they do it just experiment. Me personally, I'd rather take that little $20, $10 and go buy me something to eat. If I go buy me a pair of shoes or something.
You don't need no more shoes.
Yes, I do. But anyway, go ahead.
Every day in the U.S., 2,500 youth between the ages of 12 and 17 abuse of prescription pain relievers for the first time. And it's hard for athletes because they blow an ACL or MCL, and it's very painful, and they get addicted to the pain relief. After the rehab, these kids are still dependent. Their body has become codependent on the pain relief medication that they were given. In 2006, in the United States, 2.6 million people abused prescription drugs for the first time. That's amazing. That's a large number. A survey in 2007 in the United States found that 3.3% of 12 to 17-year-olds and 6% of 17 to 25-year-olds have abused prescription drugs in the past month.
Wow, that's amazing.
Really in the past month.
But it's so easily accessed. The kids get it in school. Like I said, kids be getting high right there on school campus.
They're actually little geniuses. They figure out a way to cover it up. The smokeless, the smellless. They're little geniuses. If they put that thought into something creative or positive, we'll be a whole lot better off with our children. Prescription drug abuse causes the largest percentage of death from drug overdosing. Of the 22,400 drug overdose deaths in the United States in 2005, painkillers were the most commonly found drug. For about 38.2% of the people that died. Wow. That's,
and the number's growing. It's continuing to grow. And this is why we're trying to get the word out with, about the youth and drugs, because our children have access to these medications where they're taking these pills and don't even have a conscience, don't even care what happens, the side effects, or what can happen. They don't realize that whatever they do to themselves, it doesn't only affect them, but it affects you, it affects your whole family. It's like a domino effect.
Parents, we can't stress enough. Be nosy. Go through their closets, go through their drawers. If you can get a hold of the cell phone, go through the cell phone, go through the text messages, and find out what your children are doing and what they're up to. In 2005, 4.4 million teenagers ages 12 to 17 in the U.S. admitted to taking prescription painkillers. 2.3 million took prescription stimulants such as Ritalin.
Wow, and you know how many kids are prescribed Ritalin or Adderall because of ADHD? They are so quick to give our children these medications, and some of these medications have side effects. One thing in our program, It's Okay to Be Different, we have essential oils that also works very well with children that have ADHD and has no side effects. It's all natural. You can place the oils on their palms or behind their earlobes or on the temples or on the bottom of their feet. And believe me when I say these oils work, they really do work. I have a friend, a very good dear friend, and she's like a sister to me, Nikki. she tried it on her son, on her child, and she put it on one day and it worked. And then she thought maybe it was just her imagining. But then she didn't try it the next day, the following day, and the baby went back to being his normal self. And then she tried it again the following day after, and it worked. So these medication works. It has been case studies. There's been studies performed from physicians that actually tried these essential oils. I'm not saying don't follow what your doctor is saying. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying if there's something else that is going to work for your child without the side effects, try it.
All right, moving on. 2.2 million abused over-the-counter drugs such as cough syrup. Cough syrup. I mean, I got a cough, mommy. So they go and they take cough syrup to get high. That's scary. You know, prescription drug deaths. There's 45% of the youth are dying from prescription drug abuse. Antidepressants are responsible for more overdose than cocaine, heroin, meth, all combined. In the United States, the most deaths used to take place in the inner cities and African American neighborhoods, but they have now overtaken the white rural communities. The same trend can be seen in rates, hospitalizations, and substance abuse and emergency hospitalizations for overdoses. So back to these drugs don't see color, race, creed, gender, or anything.
You don't discriminate.
It does not discriminate. So we're not gonna make this a black or white thing because it's not. It's an American problem. It's a community problem. So we need to stop this stuff or be more mindful of what our children are up to. Also, 50% of teens believe that drugs are much safer than illegal street drugs. 70% say that home medicine cabinets are their main source of drugs.
Lock up your medicine cabinets, lock them up.
According to the National Center of Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia State University, teens who abuse prescription drugs are twice likely to use alcohol, 5 times more likely to use marijuana, and 12 times more likely to use illegal street drugs such as heroin, ecstasy, cocaine, than teens who do not abuse prescription drugs. That's a crazy rate. In 2007, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, found that abuse of painkillers, fentanyl, killed more than 1,000 people that year in the U.S. That is 30 to 35 times more powerful than heroin.
Okay, now why do we think that our youth take these drugs? Why do you think that they want to feel that high feeling?
Now, you want this answer coming from a parent or a police officer?
From a parent perspective, and then we'll move on to the law enforcement side.
From a parent perspective, I think they take it to fill a void that they're not getting at home, to feel something that's missing. I don't know if it could be emotional, it could be I don't know, anything that they're not getting at home from a parent. Something's missing, so they're trying to fill the void with that.
Okay, now from the law enforcement side, why do you feel that the youth in the community are so hyper and wanting to get the medication? Why they want to get that high? Why they want to feel that high?
First off, they want to fit in. They want to fit in. They want to be part of the in crowd. And secondly, once they get into the in crowd and see that the monies that can be made off these prescription drugs, then it become a financial thing. They want to make money, So as a law enforcement official, that's that's the reason that I think that they get into it on the street level anyway.
Okay, well, I have a couple of things that I looked up of why children, why youth try drugs. You know, the first number one was peer pressure.
Absolutely.
You know, peer pressure is very strong amongst our youth. They deal with peer pressure every day, whether it be the way that they look, how they dress, how they talk, where they live, or just to do things that they do things to fit in. Like
they have to fit in.
They want to fit in the popular crowd. No child wants to be left behind. No child wants to be on the sideline or be made to feel like they are geek.
They don't want to be bullied.
Geeks are. When I was coming up, I was called a geek.
Still a geek.
And you know, I didn't want to feel left out. So yes, I hung around popular girls, and then when I got into track, then I made my own. But some children are not strong enough to say, okay, I'm not doing it. But we need to tell our children that it's okay. It's okay to be different. Let them know that it's okay to say no, to walk away. You don't have to indulge in these medications just because your friends do it. And if they were your friends, they would never ask you to try it in the first place. Number two is to look and feel grown up. I know when I was growing up, I know I lied a couple of times about my age. Said I was 18 when I was really 16. But then when reality really hits, and you are really 18, 19, 20, now you're saying, I wish I could go back home. I want to go back home to mama. I didn't have no bills, nothing to worry about, no care to worry.
No concerns.
But I do notice that children, because I know I did it, we was always so in a hurry to be grown. I can't wait till I turn 18. I'm getting out this house. And then now if you're 18, you want to go back to the house. Number three is modeling parents' behaviors. Like I had mentioned before, our children are sponge. They mimic what they see. So if you're sitting there on the couch taking a puff, what do you think your child's doing in his room or her room or at a friend's house? Not to say all children do that, but it's a 50-50 chance that child can and will.
What did the old adage saying? The apple don't fall too far from the tree.
True that.
So if they see it, believe me, they're gonna do it at some point.
Number four, curiosity. Curiosity always kills the cat. Number five is boredom. They may be bored. Oh, I think I'll try this pill. I want to see how this makes me feel today. Self-medications. Like Alan had mentioned before, they're missing something. Teens sometimes don't come to their parents and talk to their parents about the things or issues that's going on in school. Maybe they are being bullied. Maybe they feel like they're out of place. And in the teenage years, they are trying to find themselves. So they may try to self-medicate. Rebellion. They want to go against their parents. All of us as children, I know at one point or another, we all rebelled against our parents, trying to test the waters.
And it's not just the parents, it's any authority figure. I mean, police, teachers, principals. Parents get the bulk of it, but, when they start rebelling, they're going to rebel against every authority figure that runs across them.
Right, but it starts at home. Ignorance. Kids not knowing, not being educated about drugs, the effects that it can have on them. The effects may not hit them right then. It may hit them 20, 30 years down the road. You have addicts that try drugs and now you see them with their teeth rotting out of their mouth. You see sores on their face. For the ones that are shooting up heroin, you see the marks in their arms. And once they blow those, then they start going in between their toes. So it's areas that they can shoot up, and it may not show up right then when they're doing it. But believe me when I say down the road, like I said, 20, 30 years later, it may show up. It will show up. Next one is just to have fun. They want to hang out with their friends, and they see that their friends are doing it. So hey, Jim's doing it. Let me try it too. Jim like doing it every day. Let me see what Jim is experiencing. I want to experience that same thing. Or worst thing, number 10 is they probably become addicted now. They've been injured. They do prescribe the hard knocks to these kids, and they're popping them to get the pain away. And then now, after they've been on the pain for 1-2 months, now they're dependent on this medication. They're missing that feeling. I can't feel. I've heard one person tell me that they couldn't even function without getting up smoking a blunt in the morning. They couldn't do. They weren't in their right mind. They couldn't think without doing it. And I'm not knocking whoever does it, but to hear someone say that is disturbing. I can't function because I didn't smoke my cigarette, or I can't function because I didn't have my glass of wine this morning, or I can't function because, hello, people that drink coffee, I can't function. I didn't have my caffeine. But medication is something that is hitting home. It's hitting our kids, and if we get a handle on it now, we can save our child's life, save someone else's child's life. And I have another question to the parents. Do you believe that children that do drugs, do you believe that it puts them or places them behind bars?
I think that from a parent's perspective, I think that, continued use is going to place you behind bars, because 90% of, 100% of drugs that's prescribed are illegal to possess without a prescription bottle. So I believe it'll put you behind bars if it's a constant use thing. If you're constantly, or you get caught several times with, Adderall, and you don't have a prescription bottle with your name on it or anything like that. So,
but not even the prescription, street drugs. They get hold the street drugs, and they're high now, and like you said, 9 times out of 10 they go and commit a crime, not knowing what they're doing, but they're going to commit a crime sometimes to support their habit.
Absolutely. Most people that's addicted to crack that are, stealing and they're doing it to support their habit. They're breaking in homes. They're stealing bikes out of front yards, or going to construction sites, stealing the copper, and it's just to support their habit. I mean, not saying that they're bad people. They're just in a bad situation.
Right. Do you know that every 5 children and teen arrested in the state's juvenile system are under the influence of alcohol or drugs while committing their crimes?
Yeah, I can believe that. I lived that for 6 years as a police officer.
And they tested positive for drugs. They were arrested for committing an alcohol drug offense.
Drug-related offense, yeah.
Admitting to have used substance abuse and addiction problem. There was a 5-year study in criminal neglect, substance abuse, juvenile justice, and the child left behind. And in the most comprehensive analysis was taken under substance abuse and state juvenile justice system. The report found that 1 million of 2.4 million juveniles arrested had substance abuse and addiction involvement, and that only 68,600 juveniles received substance abuse treatment.
That's not shocking. I mean, if the courts first off, our courts are overwhelmed anyway, but if they put every child that came through the system that has had some type of drug-related, say that they've tried marijuana, if they put all these kids through treatment, we wouldn't have enough room to treat all these kids, and then it'd be a worse problem, because now that we just push through the system instead of actually getting the help that they need.
All right. And you know that the report also reveals that drug and alcohol abuse is implicated, in 64% of violent offenses, 72% of property offenses, and 81% of assaults, vandalism, and disorderly conduct.
You know, when they're on these drugs or whatever, a lot of them aren't in their right mind. You know, they don't know what they're doing. The ones that's vets at taking narcotics, yeah, they can think through it. You know, they just try to play like they don't know what's going on. But when it's new to somebody, it has effect on their thought process, and they weigh things differently. You know, the first time, you know, I run across a kid that has a narcotic issue, you know, we try to deal with them. We try to deal with them, you know, as a parent and as a police officer. I mean, if they've committed a crime, of course we're going to arrest them. But, you know, we try to talk to them. We wear a million hats. We're counselors. We're just trying to give all the best advice we can. But once these kids continue to use that same drug, you know, they're able to think through that. So a lot of these kids know exactly what they're doing when they're doing it. They just try to use that as an excuse to get out of the punishment part of it.
Mm-hmm. So. And, you know, 92% of arrested juveniles who tested positive for drugs tested positive for marijuana, and 14.4% for cocaine.
Well, in the inner cities, both of those drugs are very popular. You can get a dime bag or a nickel bag of marijuana, which is $5 and $10. Just about anywhere. You can blink your eye. I mean, it's almost like 7-Eleven. They're on every corner. And with cocaine, I mean, it might take a little longer to find, you know, but just like anything else, if you want it bad enough, you're going to find it.
True, that's very true. You know, up to 3/4 of incarcerated 10 to 17-year-olds have a diagnosable mental health disorder. As much as 8 out of 10 incarcerated juveniles suffer from learning disabilities. And compared to juveniles who have not been arrested, those who have been arrested once in the past year are more than twice as likely to have used alcohol, more than 3.5 times likelier to have used marijuana, more than 3 times likelier to have used prescription drugs for non-medical purposes, more than 7 times likelier to have used ecstasy, more than 9 times likelier to have used cocaine, and more than 20 times likelier to have used heroin. The arrest rate, you know, for female juveniles increased almost 7.4%. And then for juveniles, it decreased 18.9%. You know what amazes me is that the fact when I sit and I have conversations with people, even I'm working in the women's prison, something that amazed me. They said they don't think women can commit harsher crimes than men. Women can't do this and women can't do that, which I totally disagree, because if you make someone mad enough, they can do just as much harm as a man. But society always, I guess, gives lighter sentences to females when they've done the same crime that a male has done.
Yeah, don't underestimate these females. I mean, I dealt with some really tough Crips in North Las Vegas, and a few of them were female. And believe me, I'd rather go hands on with any one of the guys before I had to deal with one of those girls. They were faster to lose their temper, pull the trigger, pull a knife, pull your hair, whatever they had to do. They 9 times out of 10, one of the females started the fight because she knew her brothers were going to come to back her up. So
wow. Now, before we end our topic for the day, I want to leave you with 10 tips for prevention for parents. You know, the power of a parent goes a long way. Believe it or not, parents are the most powerful influences on their children. when it comes to drugs. Recent research has found that 2 out of 3 kids ages 13 to 17 say that losing their parents' respect is one of the main reasons they don't drink alcohol, smoke marijuana, or use other drugs. So then, as a parent, what I can do, use my influence to encourage or promote prevention efforts with my children. Here are some tips. Don't be afraid to be the bad parent. Sometimes our or fear or negative reaction from our kids keeps us from doing what is right. Don't always try to be your child's friend. Be a parent. 2, connect with your child's friends. Always know who your child is hanging with. Know your child's friend's number. Know where your child's friends live.
Know their parents.
Know their parents, right. Make connections with other parents too. Get involved. Do things together so that way you know how that family acts or reacts or when you're not around. Promote healthy activities. Help your kids and their friends to learn to have fun.
Healthy fun.
Right. Encourage your kids to become more engaged in school and community activities such as music, sports, arts, or a part-time job. The more your child is active, the less time that they have to get caught up. Establish clear family rules about alcohol and drugs. Setting specific, clear rules is the foundation for parental efforts and prevention. Some areas being kids under 21 will not drink alcohol. Kids will not ride in a car with someone who has been drinking. Older brothers and sisters will not encourage your younger kids to drink or use drugs. Kids under 21 will not host parties at our home without parental supervision. Kids will not stay at kids' parties where alcohol, drugs are present. Be a role model. Be a positive role model for your child. And always keep track of your child's activities. Always know their whereabouts. Keep track of your alcohol and prescription drugs that you have at home.
Actually count them, because if you're not counting them and you go to pick up that bottle one day and it's empty and you haven't taken them, it wasn't the drug fairy that took them. So somebody is taking them. So just count your pills and know what you're taking daily.
Number 10, get help. If you notice your child is suffering and going down that road, get help. You're not alone, and don't be ashamed to ask for help. And your age matters. It's never too young to start. Like Alan has said before, 8 years old. Drugs do not discriminate at all. Listen before you talk. Encourage and have encouraging conversations with your child. Find out how their day went. Talk to your child and ask open-ended questions about their feelings, their friends, their activities. Be involved. Set expectations, limits, and consequences. Be honest and open. Be positive. Build your child up. They have enough negativity behavior going to school, dealing with the peer pressure that they have to deal with every day. And that is the end of our show today. Thank you for listening in. I want to reiterate something that we talked about last week. It's okay to be different is having our Penny Drive. We have 2 locations, one being at 820 South 7th Street at the Tribune radio station. The other location is 2700 North Jones Boulevard at the Cut Barbershop. Ask for Annette. Again, I want to thank Annette for allowing us to have a penny jar at her location. And also I want to thank Rolando for allowing us to have our penny jar at his location. It's okay to be different. It's looking for a few mentors that is willing to volunteer 20 hours a month to a child. If you are looking and wanting to become a mentor, you can look us up at OK, the number 2, the letter B, different.net, and fill out the volunteer form and we will get back to you. Or you can send us an email at OK, the number 2, the letter B, diff.gmail.com, and we will respond to you that way. Or you can call us at 702-380-0828, and we will return your call. If we're not able to answer your call at the time, we will return your call within 24 hours. to get back with you in reference to being a volunteer. Or if you have a child who would like to be mentored by It's Okay to Be Different, please reach out to us at 702-380-0828, and we would love to have your child become a part of It's Okay to Be Different, because this is where we take every child, no child is left behind, and we're breaking the cycle one child at a time. Thank you again for tuning in. And Alan, do you have anything to say before we go?
Yeah, lastly, folks, it takes a village to raise a child. If we can save one child from going into the system, being incarcerated, or having to deal with law enforcement negatively, then we've won. With the things that's going on across the country, with all the bad press with police, don't get me wrong, we have 90% of the police officers out there to help you. There are some that have agendas, but 90 to 95% of the police officers are out there to help you and to do the right thing. So if you have any type of interaction with the police, it's not about a yes, sir, or no, sir, or yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. Just show a little respect, and it'll go a long way with police officers. I mean, they'll help you in any way that they can, but just know that they also have a job to do, and they have a family to get home to. When I was in the police academy, they preached officer safety. So you guys have to know that they deal with a lot of different situations, and they will deal with the situation the way that they see fit, the safest for them. They're not all out to hurt you. They're really not. Get to know one, and then you can understand where they're coming from.
Thank you, and everyone have a blessed week. Grab one child under the wing and show them the right way. It takes a village to raise a child,